University of Utah fans, we have fresh new gear for you to elevate your game day and everyday style. Check out brothersforlife.com. That's brothers, F-O-R-E, life.com, where you will find the freshest, officially licensed U of U merchandise. The Blackhawk collection is a dope accessory for fans, alumni, and athletes who rep the U with pride. The design blends iconic U of U branding with a distinctive Brothers for Life aesthetic, making them a standout addition to any Utah fans collection. BFL Promotions can also assist you in creating custom-made products for your brand or an upcoming event. BFL Promotions is your one-stop shop for a vast array of promotional products and business gifts. Their extensive offering of products will ensure that you find the apparel, bags, drinkware, awards, and much, much more to help you promote your brand. Check them out today at brothersforelife.com and see why so many people use BFL Promotions to show up and to stand out.
You're listening to The Royal Riot.
One for all is one for one.
Welcome back to Royal Riot, the podcast where we talk about all things Utah Royals. And sometimes we talk about viruses. And that's right, I'm back. I'm alive. I'm here. I found out I had the hantavirus through listening to Royal Riot, my favorite podcast of the week. So happy to be back. I'm here with Sean, who giggled on the other end.
I did.
And Stockton, who is inside the stadium right now.
Hello.
It's good to see you. We have an exciting episode for you guys today. We miss you, Brooke. We miss you. But we did have an interview today. So, Sean, why don't you give us a little preview of what they can expect from our interview? Then we'll give a quick Royals check-in, and then we'll kick off the rest of the episode with our guest.
I will be happy to, but first I do need to welcome you back. Maggie, it's always good to have you steering the helm, manning the helm, captaining the ship. I know you love that so much. Thanks, Captain. And shout out to Brooke. Did you two meet up somewhere when you were released from quarantine? Because now she has the hantavirus.
Yes. She actually requested to meet up so that she could skip work for a few days.
She did it to get out of work. That's amazing. It's dangerous as the hantavirus.
She said,
She's
hey,
like,
let's just walk past each other, hug really fast, and then if I get it, I get it, you know?
well, Brooke, I hope everything goes okay, but no, I completely forgot what you asked me to do because all I can think about is mouse droppings. But what were your requests of me?
There was no request except just introducing who our guest on the podcast is.
Our guest today does not have the hantavirus, and he is a good man because he gave us a lot of time. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy listening to the one, the only general manager of the Utah Royals, Connor Oniki. And while we're talking about Connor and just quickly giving him a plug, we also need to give his wife, Mallory, a plug. Everybody go check out the Cookie Club. It's a recipe book that his wife, Mallory, has put out. I'm just learning about how incredibly well-known she is, and she's the creator of the Palatable Life. Anyway, I'm just learning about it, but I'm already putting the book into my cart because Connor also told us about a cookie, his favorite in the book. They all sound amazing. There's like 80 cookie recipes. It sounds like everyone's as good as the other. So anyway, we're talking to Connor. We're not talking to Mallory, but buy her book. Follow her on Instagram. They're a cool family. Do you guys have a family as cool as their family?
No, my dad listens to this, so I can't answer that question.
Nobody from my family listens, so I can tell you we do not have as cool as a family as them. Stockton, do you have a cool family?
I plead the fifth.
So your family listens as well.
I don't know if they do, but just in case.
It's a safe space. Royal Riot is a safe space. But yeah, great intro. And not that the title probably didn't give it away, but that will be the bulk. We got to spend a pretty much full hour with him. So lots of questions, topics about culture, about individual players, about the performance this year. That will be the bulk. To recap, I'm back from the virus. Brooke has the virus. Connor doesn't have the virus. And buy his wife's cookie book is where we've gotten to. So now that we've touched on the important things, correct? You guys killed it on the last few episodes, recapping the Utah Royals, just kicking ass. Like, let's be honest.
Wow.
We'll just acknowledge, of course, the continued clean sheet.
Ass kicking.
And remained undefeated. Still came home with a point against the Bay. Any thoughts on that game? Anything you want to say? Except I'd say generally looked like third game in the week. But as you'll hear Connor say, we need to contextualize things a little bit sometimes. And I 100% was like, yeah, of course I would have wanted 9 points out of the week. That would have been amazing. But 7 points and your third game and then your third one being away on the road, like, I'm happy with it. I just think that's all I got to say. It was not the prettiest game in the world, but we didn't get scored on. And there were some moments of brilliance on both sides of the ball.
And the players were open to say that, yeah, probably not the best game they played, prettiest game. But again, comes off the third game in a week? Was it actually a week? Week and a couple days, maybe?
I think it was like 8 days. Regardless, the 3-game week is a lot.
3-game week. But there were, as you mentioned, Maggie, moments of brilliance. I think second half, Kiana missed by inches off of a long Mandy bump ahead. And then Paige picked some pockets. Yeah, I think all things considered, it was still a good game. There were still good things that came out of it. Stockton, to quote you, CC had twinkle toes. I'm so excited. I'm excited for the next match at home on Sunday.
Yeah, to echo both of you, I think they did a fantastic job, especially for 3 games in 8 days or whatever the actual timeline is.
I love that none of us are willing to Google and confirm. We just are all like 7, 8 days, 6, 7, 6, 7
days.
Yeah, 6, 7 days. So
yeah.
As you were saying, Stockton, sorry.
No worries. Shout out to Narumi for her sliding save. That was really cool. Shout out to Kate for her goal line save against Houston. Yeah, just shout out to all the players for fighting through a really long week. Can't wait to see them on Sunday. Hope to see you guys there.
Preach. All right, Sean, who are we playing on Sunday then?
We are playing the Racing. We are playing the Racing Louisville. We are playing a group from Louisville.
It's actually Louisville. Yeah, Racing has had a rough start to the season, but are coming off their best game, taking down the number 1 seed Portland Thorns on a 3-1 win off of someone that I love very much, and I won't talk about after this, but Katie O'Kane off a banger, so let's not give up any set pieces to our University of Utah gal. Brooke would give us all the details, but she's not here. Sean, fill in for Brooke.
We are playing at the RioT. We're playing at 6 p.m. Get there a little early. Get yourself whatever you need to eat. Get your butt in your seat before kickoff, and then let's be loud, and let's cheer them on to victory. And let's help them get 3 points out of the remaining 9 before the June break.
All right, I like it. Well, segue us into the interview with Connor now, and we will catch you after that plus 3 points on Sunday.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Connor Oniki, welcome back to the Royal RioT. How are you?
Thank you. Doing well. Yeah, happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you. It's been, I don't know if you went and looked at the date, it's been just over a year since you were here. We had a great conversation. Back in those days, you were in a different role with the organization. You had just transitioned from like 4 other roles into assistant sporting director. And now we get to welcome you as the Utah Royals general manager. So welcome. And I will say for the listeners who maybe want your background, because in that interview back in April of last year, we went over where you came from, what you've done leading up to the Utah Royals. So I'll just refer them back to that so that they can hear all the good stuff about your education and your legal experience, your love for basketball, all those good things. But today we want to talk mostly about the good old Utah Royals and how you and your front office staff and the coaching staff and these players have just rocked it. Again, thank you so much for being here. But maybe before we jump into the Royals, I do have one preliminary, and that is, could you kind of walk the listeners through, like, general manager, what does that entail? What are your duties? How have you been able to help this team?
First of all, thank you so much. Really excited to be able to be here, and hopefully, we can make this an annual thing. I always love talking with you all and grateful for the work that you're doing just to amplify, I think, everything that the players are doing, that our staff is doing. It just is, it matters to be able to connect with our community, to be able to connect with, folks who care. And so we're just really grateful to all of you for the work you're doing, behind the scenes, the work you're doing, going to games, being around and out and just talking about the team, because we really, we love the team, we love the players, we love the staff, and any love that they can be getting is so warranted and so earned. And so we're just grateful to you all for doing that. Yeah, so this role that I'm in now, I think, is very similar in a lot of ways to what I was doing before. I now manage our operations department, so our kind of logistics, operations, player care, equipment, our security, those sort of just like all of the behind the scenes logistics pieces. I now like line manage, and so work with all of those folks. And we have such a phenomenal operations group. All of our ops group, just because of what at the end of last season, just different outgoings, we actually hired pretty much an entirely new operations department. We had an intern who was promoted, then we brought in a new operations manager, a new player care coordinator, a new equipment manager, a new assistant equipment manager. And so like that has been so fun for me to be able to like work with all of these new people, to be able to be a part of their hiring, they're bringing into the club. And like as much as you all maybe see, the work that the coaching staff is doing, which is really phenomenal, and even I think some glimpses into medical and performance and those sort of things, operations is maybe the most behind the scenes of the behind the scenes work. And so I just want to maybe use this time to speak really highly of them and the work that they've done and the job that they've all done to be able to step in. Like I feel so grateful to be able to work with all of them, to be able to learn from them, and just to be able to see them step into these roles and really make them their own. I think in any organization, when you have new people come in, there can always be a feeling of like, well, this is kind of how we've always done things, and people coming in with their own ideas and how you mesh those together. And I just think it's such a credit to them of being able to take the things that we have always done, take the things that they really like, and then find ways to make it better from their own experience or their own insights. And also just a credit to the rest of our group to being flexible and not being so tied to, we've always done this, so we have to keep doing it this way, because logistics and operations are so tied up in routine and those sort of things that I just think we've really tried to do a good job of, taking steps forward to be able to operate more efficiently and be able to do that behind the scenes work really well. So that's a big part of kind of the change. And then I still help with our scouting, recruitment, just kind of like, I mean, it's funny because that's the type, but like general management, like just any kind of like contract evaluation, any types of just like administrative issues are things that I'm often working on. So like the league constantly is meeting documents returned or filled out or, done, like questions that they have about our housing setup, about our player contract setup, those sort of things. And so I'm just doing a lot of that. Just pretty much anything that comes my way, I'm happy to do it. And I love the role because it is really expansive. You get to do a lot of things, see a lot of different things, and work with so many different people. And then I think the kind of main core of it, which is similar to what I was doing before, is just the salary cap and kind of player contract management, those sort of things, because that's kind of my bread and butter. I'm the only person nerdy enough to really care that much about it. And so they let me just sit in my office and work on that on my own.
Well, I want to ask just one follow-up, and then we'll move on to the team and soccer specific things. But I am curious. I would assume the GM, as kind of a follow-up, is kind of the go-between between the Miller family and Jimmy. And I assume Kelly's a little bit of that as well. Is that true? And if so, what is the DNA that the Millers want you to stamp on the Utah Royals? Or are they very hands-off? And how do they communicate that sort of thing?
Yeah, so all soccer org structures are just kind of different. It feels like everybody just kind of has made up titles. And so a GM in one place may do different things, certainly does different things than what I do. So I would kind of say, so Jason sits at the top of our kind of soccer structure for all of the teams, for all of like Utah soccer. And then Kelly reports into him, and she manages kind of everything that's happening from a sporting perspective. So she oversees medical, performance, myself, scouting, recruitment, all of those sort of things. And so the work that I'm doing is right kind of alongside Kelly, but I'm still reporting into Kelly in the same way that I was before. So the three of us are kind of, when we have our ownership meetings, when we're having those discussions, usually like we do pretty regular meetings with ownership, and the three of us are there. Jason and Kelly have even more conversations with them. And then I would say Jason has the most conversations with them, but that's kind of the layout of how we do things. And they are just, I think the biggest thing for them is the cultural piece. The Millers are just so clear and defined in the way that they want to run all of their organizations. And I think they've really infused our group. And you've seen a lot of interviews that Jason has done and Jimmy has done and our players have done, talking about culture and being able to talk about the work that we've done over the last year to be able to really flush out what we want our culture to look like. And I think that was spurred on in large part by Jason and by the Millers to be able to really, do that. I think the Millers have just been so phenomenal to work with. I think it's so nice to have people that are just in your backyard who are aware and tapped in and that you can be meeting with regularly face to face. And I think, David Blitzer and his group are also phenomenal and they've been great to work with, and them stepping into this role, we still have contact with them and get to work with them. But I think even for them, they always wanted to be able to have kind of a majority owner that was local, that had ties to the area and be able to do that. And so I think for them to be able to kind of empower the Millers and for the Millers to be able to take the reins has been hugely beneficial for them, for us as a club. And I think that culture piece has been the main, as amongst many other things, has been one of the biggest things that has just really driven throughout kind of all parts of the club.
Well, thank you for helping me to see that the GM position can be very different from club to club, organization to organization. I'm stuck in the Moneyball kind of idea of what a GM would do. So no, that's very interesting. You have a very varied position, and I'm sure it just keeps you interested every day. Let's springboard into talking about the Utah Royals with the word that you just used, culture, because we have heard time and again how much this locker room is humming, how much they love each other. We see it in their play on the pitch. What would you say you're most proud of in terms of Utah Royals culture and how the front office has helped to foster that, how the coaching staff has helped? Like, what do you love about this group and their culture?
It's a great question. There's so many things that come to mind. I think, the main thing, and you kind of hinted at it, is just the togetherness and the unity that I think the players play with. Like one of our values in this kind of culture rebuild that we've done recently is "I've got you." And I just think that is you see that on the pitch. It's not just something that we say around the building, but you see it in the way that when somebody goes to press, somebody else is behind her going just as hard to be able to cover that. And when one goes, we all go, and being able to just lift each other up off the ground and being able to support each other. Like, I think that the way that our players talk about each other, the way that they play for each other, that value is one of so many that you really see on the pitch. One of the things with our values is we've tried to make all of them phrases rather than just words, but things that you can actually say to each other and be able to action on. And so I love that "I've got you," because many of us say that a lot just in our regular lives, but for us to be able to say that and in our mind recognize, oh, I'm saying one of our values, this is something that Utah Royals say, is just really beautiful. And I think that's the thing. Amongst there are other parts of each of the values I could talk about, but I really think that that's the one I hear the most around the building. It's the one, if somebody's staying late to pick up a little bit of like quote unquote grunt work, there's this attitude of, I've got you. I'm happy to do that. Like, I think when our new equipment manager first got here, she was leaving her last job. And so she came over and was a little bit behind just because of the cadence of where things were at. And she knew that she was going to have to stay for a really long time in the equipment office to like get everything organized. And we had multiple coaches stay in. I was in there. Our other people in our operations group were just there, like unpacking boxes, moving things around, doing things. And that just feels very, "I've got you." Like, that's I see that you're doing this. I'm going to step in. I'm going to be able to help. And that to me is like so critical to be able to be infused throughout the group, because it happens within the building and then it goes out and it can happen on the pitch. And that to me is, I think the strongest piece from a cultural perspective that I just love being able to see it, week in and week out. And I think especially with, the way that the season started, and we're really happy with the results, but I think that's something, it's a foundation to fall back on, that if or when results don't go the way that we want them to, that we still have each other, that we've still got that buy-in from each other to be able to know that, when I've fallen farther than maybe we've fallen so far, that we have each other, that we're willing to lift each other back up, because I think being able to have that foundation to fall back on is just so critical.
I love that. And I want Maggie and Stockton to know, I've got you. If you two need anything, I've got you. And then Connor, if you need like a juice box down at the RioT on game night, I got you. Like, just let me know.
That's beautiful.
Hit me up quick.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I'll take you up on it.
I could be the juice box guy. I could at least do that.
I guess I got you too. I guess that's our culture here. I'm just kidding. I've got you, Sean. Yeah, I think there were so many things that you said that, and maybe other values will just naturally come up in this conversation. So I implore you to expand on those if they're relevant to our other questions, because I think it's obvious to not only people who pay very close attention to the Utah Royals, RSL, the Utah soccer family, that it's a holistic change in a lot of ways, whether that's from actual tactical business decisions or whether that's from those small cultural things that start, when players see not only their staff members, but their coaches and everyone having that mentality, I've got you. I can just see how that is radiating on the field and the community as well. So I just wanted to say that's great. And I want to hear more about the values if they come up. And I guess I would be curious, what was the vibe going into this year? Just did it feel, I know you were in a slightly different position, but you said, you were doing a lot of the same things. We had a lot of new players, but we kept a lot of the same core. Jimmy's been here for 3 years now. Is it almost just that things have settled in addition to having this new spark of the Millers, or what felt different this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was the stat that was going around that it was a few weeks ago, but saying that since the summer of last year, I think the Royals would be second. Like if we were working in a summer to summer calendar or whatever, we would be second in the table behind Kansas City. And so I think a lot of it has just been continuity, being able to maintain a lot of the group that was there from last summer. And I think being able to bring in new players in really key areas to be able to, where we felt like maybe there were places that we wanted to be able to bolster our efforts a little bit. And I think we've already seen the impact that some of these players have had to be able to strengthen, but it also has just allowed some of our players who've been here for a while to continue to perform and to be the best versions of themselves. And so, yeah, I think there was a lot of optimism going into the beginning of the season, and it's measured certainly because we know what the last 2 years have been like, and that it's hard to win in this league. It's hard to play in this league. And so we felt really good about each isolated decision that we made, certainly from a player perspective, but then you show up and you have to see how it all meshes together. And we went to Coachella for the first time, and that was really good for us. We felt really strongly that we needed to play NWSL competition going into the start of the season because we had not done as much of that in the last couple of years, and we really wanted to be able to go out and do that. And I think there were maybe some people that saw some of those games or felt a certain oh man, maybe this isn't, but you really don't get a good gauge of where you're at as a team. It's just for you to be able to be out there, get performances, be able to go out and see, players having their own moments and being able to evaluate them and have them work through what that speed of play is going to be like, so that when you have your first game of the season, you're kind of ready to go. And so I think there were just a lot of different decisions that were made from a recruitment standpoint, from an operations standpoint, certainly from a staffing standpoint. We increased our staff. I don't know. I don't want to say the head count because I don't want to be wrong about it, but we increased head count across the board kind of in every area. And so that was hugely beneficial. We brought in our head of scouting and recruitment. Harvey has been really critical to be able to help with some of those recruitment decisions. We brought in John Griffiths as an assistant coach and a head of methodology, and he was able to continue to kind of flesh out some of the things that we've been doing on a tactical side. And we had a new head of performance, and we brought in another strength and conditioning coach and a sports scientist and an assistant equipment manager and an assistant operations manager. So all of those people just being able to come in, I think it felt like across the board, a lot of isolated decisions were made that we felt good about, but then the kind of sheer number of all of those coming together at once and clicking in the way that they have, we hoped that would be the case, but you don't really know until those things start to kind of coalesce together. And I think it's a credit to the group of people that we brought in, the group of players that we brought in, for their buy-in to these things, for their willingness to lean in and to be the best versions of themselves has just been so admirable. And nothing that we could have done could have better prepared them to be able to do that. We just brought in the right people, I think, who wanted to be able to do that. And that goes back to Jason just did a you'd have to look it up. He did like a book club interview on a book that he's been reading that I think has influenced a lot of our culture pieces. And the book is about belonging. And one of the things that Jason has just talked a ton about is this idea that you belong here, and that by coming into our environment, you belong here. And so it's not, you don't have to earn belonging. You don't have to prove yourself to belong. By stepping through the door, you belong here. And we've really tried to harp on that for our staff members that have come in, for our players that have come in, that like, once you're a Royal, you belong here. There's no proving ground at this point to show us that you're worthy of our support or worthy of our, but that by taking the leap yourself to come and join us, you belong here. By us being clear about what our culture is going to be and who we want to be, and you choosing that, you belong here. And I just think that is such a critical thing for all of these people coming in all at once, is that hopefully they felt belonging immediately. And then you can work through a lot of the other clunkier stuff. But by feeling that belonging, by being invited into the space and saying, you belong here, like that is such a critical piece of our culture, and being able to say that, like, you don't even have to worry about that kind of first barrier that I think a lot of us interact with when we first enter a new job or a new space or whatever it is, that like, am I a fit? Does this work? That like, we want to, as much as we can, just eliminate those questions, that's not even in our minds, that you might not belong here, you might not be. We've done our due diligence, we've asked the right questions, we've explained ourselves. So if we've chosen you and you've chosen us, you belong here. That's it, point blank. Now let's get to work. And so I think that's a long-winded way of saying, like, we were really excited about it for a lot of different reasons. And yeah, I think that optimism has just continued to kind of propel us forward to be able to have a much better start to the season than we've had the last couple of years combined.
Right. We just got to keep it going the whole longer season this year too. But yeah, thank you. I love your long-winded answers. Never stop being you. Never let anyone tell you to stop talking, because guess what? I'm also a yapper, and I have to literally tell Sean to mute me sometimes, because I'm like, I will keep talking if you don't mute me right now. He's going to do it.
You saw the
I saw him. His hand was moving.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And I think all of those things are, as you said, individually making a difference and collectively making a difference. But I'm sure Sean has some questions about some of those new roles that you brought in and kind of what they do, because there's a lot of titles. And like you said, titles might be different from team to team or league to league and whatnot. So Sean, did you have any questions about those?
Not so much, Maggie. I apologize, but I kind of have just two main things I really want to hit on, but go ahead, you ask it. Put it into a question.
Well, I was so you mentioned head of methodology, works closely with tactics. Can you explain just a little bit about that role? I would say that one is one that came up and I was like, cool, what's that role?
Yeah, so John was with the English FA for a long, long time, came over, joined us as an assistant, and took on this head of methodology role. And basically, John has just taken the lead in taking kind of Jimmy's ideas about his game model and being able to actualize it in a lot of ways, and like taking the time to be able to ensure that the way that we want to play is codified in a lot of ways, and then easy to be explained to staff, to players, to all of those things. And that then on pitch, when we're at training and those sort of things, he's able to lead out in ensuring that, the way that we want to play is measurable, that it's observable, that we just are very clear in not just saying, oh, we want to play like this and we want to be able to do this, but what does that actually look like? What does, if we want to be a possession team that wins, like what are the smaller micro steps that get us to that? What are the things that we need to be doing in any given moment, when we have the ball, when we've just lost the ball, when we've just gotten the ball, when we've been out of possession for a long time? Like, what are the actions that we need to take on pitch to be able to, ensure that we're kind of reaching our higher game model? And it really is just something that, like, Jimmy still does so much of that stuff, but it also is just nice for him to be able to have even more support being able to do that, because he's managing, player conversations and so many of those other things that, a lot of the coaching staff, they're all balancing so many different things together and just holding those together. But John specifically is kind of honed in on just building out this game model and then being able to execute on it. And, with Jimmy, alongside Jimmy, just kind of being able to flush those things out. But it is just not, the more hands you have on it, the more eyes you have on it, the more you're able to really ensure that, we have this goal. Do we have all of the tools or all the right, steps along the path in place to make sure that we're getting there and going in the right direction?
Yeah, no, that actually makes perfect sense. And look, it's working. So methodology, it's something's working. So I like it. I like it. Thanks for sharing.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
If you're sourcing inventory for TikTok, Whatnot, eBay, or Amazon, Titanic Sales was built for you. We specialize in closeouts, overstock, and opportunity buys on name brand products. In this market, sourcing is everything. Titanic Sales brings you the deals that haven't been picked over, with pricing that leaves real profit on the table. Whether you're testing new products or are ready to scale, we provide a consistent flow of inventory across dozens of categories. Buy smarter, turn faster, and maximize your margin with Titanic Sales. To learn more, call Kevo today at 801-860-8061. Again, the number to call for amazing deals on a wide variety of inventory is 801-860-8061. Titanic Sales. Big inventory, bigger margins.
Let's get back to the show.
I'd like to ask a couple of player-specific questions. What is it like to have players like Kate Delfava and Paige Cronin, on the leadership team?
It's amazing. I might get emotional right now. I got emotional. I was talking with the two of them after the Angel City game, and I just appreciate them so much, and I just have so much respect for them and the work that they've done over these last 2 years and the way that they have continued to lean in. And we talk about the players that we brought in, the staff that we brought in, but we also have some amazing players and staff that have been here since the beginning. And as much as there have been really good moments in both of the last 2 seasons, really positive things that have happened, it's been, it's been really difficult, and there have been a lot of really hard moments. And just being able to celebrate with them throughout this, and I just don't think any of us will take it for granted being able to have success and being able to see the work that we're doing being put out on the field. And I just thank them, because they have just continued to stick by the club, continued to stick by each other, continued to lead. And there is none of this success without the leadership of the two of them. That, it just point blank, you could do a lot of different things, and there wouldn't be the success without a lot of different things, but that is one of the things that you cannot do it without a Paige and a Kate being the people that they are, and continuing to just positively and optimistically lead and lean in is just it cannot be overstated, the work that they've done and the work that they do every single day, on pitch, off pitch, with players, with staff, with everybody that's there. And so they're amazing. Let alone the work that they do on pitch and the players that they are. This is just speaking to the personalities that they are. If you're impressed by them as players, I think that may pale in comparison to how good of people they are, which is saying something about the quality of people that they are.
And then we have a great player returning from injury in Tatum Milazzo. What's it like to have her back on the pitch and scoring 2 goals for the club?
Yeah, Tatum's amazing. And I think also just speaks to kind of the culture piece of, it's really hard to come into a new environment and then be out for a season and find ways to build relationships and keep connecting with people and finding ways to all of a sudden you're isolated from a situation where you were coming in and maybe feeling isolated already. But she's just ingratiated herself so well, and just is such a positive force, on the pitch and off the pitch, in the locker room. She's just such a great person. And yeah, being able to have her on pitch has just been so helpful. You just see the impact that she brings. She gives us something different, I think, in a lot of ways. That I think that's a huge thing just across the board when we talk about the players that we've brought in. It offers not just skill, but depth in a way that gives us variability. We have people who can do different things, and so we can bring on different people and do different things with players, and you can get something different instead of maybe just 2 versions of the same player. You're getting we don't have another fullback that plays the way that Tatum plays, and that's really exciting because she gets to come in and do what she does. And so I think that she's just given us a really different look, and it's so good to be able to have her back on pitch. And it's just been really awesome. But I guess the key for the Royals is, if you tear your ACL, you'll come back and just start scoring goals. So knock on wood, we never want that to happen again. But apparently that's what's led to some success.
Yeah, the bad bitches have bad knees. Turns
Exactly. I have
out,
my shirt. I know. I need to wear my shirt more often to support them because they really,
I know, and
yeah,
Chloe's assisted both of Tatum's goals, if I'm
Tatum's,
not
yeah.
mistaken. Yeah,
Their
incredible.
knees are connected. It must be something's
Okay.
happened.
Okay,
Yeah,
surgeons putting a little like magnetic device where they
exactly.
like, okay, I like that.
Exactly.
Great question, Stockton. Did you have a
Yeah.
follow-up, Stock?
I was just going to ask, so we have some new players in Narumi, Miyabi, Spenstra, who's only here for until June. What's it been like having them around the building, both on and off the pitch?
Yeah, again, I think we've just brought in really good people, really good players, but also just really good people. And when we talk about culture, like that was a huge part of it for us, was we weren't going to hide who we were to be able to get a different type of on-field profile. Like that never will be worth it to us to be able to maintain the strong culture that we've already built and want to be able to continue to do that. And we feel really strongly that you don't actually have to sacrifice quality to be able to get the right people in the building. And I think that we have hopefully tried to prove that and will continue to do so. But every addition that we've made is just to a person, such a good person and so bought into the team and so bought into the collective. And I just think that it's really beautiful. And yeah, like each of them, Narumi, Miyabi, Alexa, Kiana, Madison, like we've had Cam Simmons. Now I'm feeling bad because I've started naming them and now I need to make sure that I name all of them. But now I'm trying to make sure and go through. I think that feels like everybody. Am I missing
I feel
anybody?
like that's everyone, and if not, Sean will superimpose it.
Okay, perfect. It'll be like a
Afterwards.
robotic voice of me
Correct.
saying that.
Diana, Pierre, Louis.
But it's like such a good group and they just all are, yeah, like every single one of them just cares so deeply about the collective and being able to contribute to that. And Narumi is just phenomenal. I said to someone the other day, like, I just sometimes thank God that I get to be alive in the same world that Narumi Miura gets to be alive in, let alone work for a soccer club that she gets to, like, just one of the best humans ever, like, is just so great. And Miyabi is very similar in so many ways, like, just so nice. And Miyabi talks with my daughter all the time about Pokemon, and my daughter really loves that and is just like so great. And I think for the two of them, especially with Mina and Arya as well, like it's really cool to be able to see this little contingent being built out here of like these amazing Japanese players who've also been able to find community and like bring people out. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but almost every game there's like 20 to 30 fans that are there specifically for that group as well as for the Royals. But like those are people that they spent time with and been able to build this community. And I just think that that's so cool. And then I think the other one you asked about was Alexa, and Alexa being able to come in on short notice. Like she literally flew in and then I think had to come in as a winger in the San Diego game like a day later, and then we went down to 10, and so then she had to go in as she got switched over to a fullback. And that is her to a T of just like, I will go in and I will do the best that I can in anything that I'm asked. And she's just done a phenomenal job, because then I think on the Wednesday she was marking Trinity Rodman for the whole game, and in a game where she played really well. Like she has just stepped into so many different roles, and we've been really pleased to be able to have her in. So yeah, I think, I could go on about all the other players as well that have come in, but for those three specifically that you asked about, like, just, it's been so great to have them in the building. It's been so great to have them on pitch, and yeah, it's really great.
Well, Connor, I want to piggyback on a couple of those things real quick. With the Japanese contingency with Miyabi and Narumi, was that just a great byproduct of the fact that you went out and you found two separate players, two different positions on the pitch, a mid and a D, who just happened to be Japanese? Or was there something that you wanted to build around Mina for comfort, for something relatable for her, because she is such an important piece?
I think that if you look at the way that we want to play when we talk about that game model, there are just a lot of Japanese players that can play the way that we want to play, just because of that's how the national team plays. That's how the kind of youth structure is often. And so it was one of those things where it certainly didn't hurt that they also that it would bolster, a centerpiece of our club, someone that we had just re-signed to a long-term deal, to be able to like have even more community, friends of hers. Like these aren't just people of Japanese descent or people from Japan that Mina, like I think there is value in that. And like Ari and Mina, who didn't know each other, have like grown so close, and that's really cool. But also that like Narumi and Miyabi and Mina have all played together, and like they know each other in that way. Like that was certainly beneficial, but it wasn't something that we were going out in the market and saying, who are the best Japanese players available? But as we ran our kind of data models and went through the way that we wanted to recruit and structure things and find who was, on good contracts or on possibilities to be able to leave, they just kind of rose to the top, where it then made sense to be able to go out and do it. It was in a lot of ways a happy accident, but also if you kind of deconstruct it to just our base building blocks, the way that we want to play, the type of people that we want to play in those positions, it's not surprising that a player like Narumi rose to the top of that. Like I think she is, especially like going from when we saw the way that she was being used at Washington, and just like she was getting a little bit more limited minutes and things were going, like we felt like maybe she'd even fit the way that we want to play even better. Like we thought she was really good at Washington, really good at North Carolina. Washington also thought she was really good there. Like they really wanted to keep her. They really liked her. But for us, being able to maybe then offer a more increased role than the one that she'd had at Washington was really helpful. And I think that's no discredit to her that she had a decreased role there. It just was like for us to be able to have that kind of availability in that position for her to be able to come in and play, I think has been just like a really perfect fit. So yeah, it's kind of a happy accident, I would say.
It's a beautiful accident. And while we're talking about her, though, I want to know a little bit more. You said you're so happy, and I'm paraphrasing what you said, but you're so happy to live in a world where Narumi lives in. What is so great about her? I mean, we've had limited interaction, but tell us what makes her so great.
Yeah, just like always smiling, always happy, always wants to, like, you will either see her just smiling or she's sitting down with the coach going over film. Like that, those are her like two states of being in the facility, it feels like, where it's like she's either just like having the best time talking with people, interacting with people, or she's like working. I mean, a lot of the ways in which she plays, I think, mirror the way that she seems to live her life, of just like she's always switched on. Like she doesn't stop moving when she's on the pitch. She doesn't stop doing things when she's off the pitch. Like she's one of the first people in the building to do her prehab, to get ready for training, to get ready for games. Like she's so structured, and she just is like so nice and just such a good person. So I might be embarrassing her. I don't know if I've even been as complimentary of her to her face as I am being right now, though I think I've been pretty complimentary to her. But it's been such a great addition. But also, like, again, I don't mean to just keep harping on this piece of it, but it just fits the group. Like, she isn't unique in a lot of ways, of like the way that she interacts, the way that she's engaging with staff, with players, and those sort of things. It's just a funny offhand comment that I made to someone, but I could say that about every one of our players, genuinely. Like, to a T, there is not a player that I wouldn't say I feel lucky to like be alive in the same world as, like, let alone to be able to work with them every single day. Like, my office is upstairs, and I have to like set time for myself to not go downstairs, because if I could, I would just like go down and like talk with them and like see how everybody's doing and just like interact with the players, because they are that great of a group. And so it's like I have to do with my daughter. I'm like setting boundaries for myself. Like, you have to be in your office for 30 minutes before you go down there, because you got to get stuff done.
That's awesome. Let me just say this as a preamble to what I'm about to say. We are media. We're not friends with the players, but I will say the interaction that we have had has been nothing short of just generous and open and transparent. You have a group that I think anybody would be pleased to speak with in any type of setting, because they are so generous with their feelings and their time and their insight. You have an amazing group. I do want to ask one more thing about Alexa, though, because as Stockton mentioned, she's here for a limited time through June. Is there an opportunity to extend that? Is there a renewal? Is there an extension that can be applied? Because, look, I don't mean to tell you your job or anybody else's job, but we've talked about her in the last few episodes that she is an absolute workhorse. Like, nobody works harder on the pitch. That doesn't take away from anybody else, but we've made note of the fact that you can watch her just hoof it all over the pitch when they're up 2-0. It's almost as if we're down a goal and, the season's riding on her performance. Like, is there an opportunity? Because I can't think of a better player on the pitch in terms of just somebody giving it their all. So anyway, long intro to that, but your thoughts.
yeah, there is an opportunity for us to be able to retain her permanently. And yeah, I mean, definitely, I think we're watching the same games that other people are watching, and so we've loved being able to have her in the environment. And so we have to take into consideration a lot of different things to be able to make any sort of decision like that. But she's been phenomenal, and I think just such a, especially with KK being injured and being like losing that, which obviously was just devastating for her, for us as a group, like just really heartbreaking thing to be able to have brought in a spark to be able to, kind of counteract that loss as much as we can. That has been like, she's just been so all hands on deck. Like, I'll come in and do whatever is needed from the group, and so it's just, yeah, a real credit to Alexa for what she's done.
And I assume there has to be mutual consent with Portland, with herself.
Yeah,
everybody has to kind of weigh in and say, yes, let's make this happen. But
right.
Yeah, we absolutely love her.
So Kiana Palacios has been so close to scoring so many times. We're kind of seeing a similar situation to Aisha, to where she hasn't been able to put the ball in the back of the net quite yet. Do you think when she does, the floodgates will open and she'll just start scoring buckets of goals?
Yeah, I think the whole group just has a lot of belief in Kiana, and I think she has just done so well, and she has a huge amount of self-belief, and I think she is maybe even harder on herself than she needs to be, of like, this is a hard league to be able to come into for anyone and adjust to. And so we've just tried to tell her, like, you have the time, like, give yourself the time to be able to continue to adjust, to learn the league and keep going. And I think it's a credit to her that she's been the starting player on a really successful team to start this season. And so whether it's the same or different than any other player that has come in, like, the results are certainly different. And whether that's, just up to one player is certainly, not the case. But I think it shows the trust that the group has in her, that she is continuing to perform and continuing to come in, and that we're continuing to get results. But I do think that for us, like, we feel really good about the start of the season, but I think we feel that there are really clear areas that we can continue to raise our ceiling. And I think Kiana is one that, yeah, we are so excited for her, and we're so excited for her to be able to just continue to get herself grounded and rooted here. The other thing is, she's had international camps every time that we've had a break. So even that time that it would be like, get familiar with your teammates and like get to, that hasn't been there. So she's pretty much just gone from game day to game day to game day, international break, game day, international break, game day. And that takes time to be able to continue to learn in the way that you need to. So I think Kiana is just, again, like, such a good person. And I don't know, like, when she first came into the airport, we had some fans come out, and that was a really fun thing to be able to have some people come out and get to meet her at the airport. And like, from the moment she touched down, for her to just be kind of, Sean, what you were saying, like, to be so gracious and just to be so like, hey, can I talk with you? Like, having conversations with them and being able to chat with them, like, that was just a sign of like, yeah, we got this right. Like, she is the person that we hoped that she would be. That has been who she's been from the moment she touched down to here. And I just think you see in the way that people play with her and the way that she's being coached, like, the amount of belief that she has in herself, the amount of belief that we have in her. So yeah, certainly I think she's on a really great trajectory right now. And I think everybody's feeling really excited for her.
Cool, Connor. You mentioned a word that kicked me off to the next thing I really want to know about. And you said the way she's being coached. I would say the way everybody's being coached. I'm going to give this little platitude here that when teams aren't doing well, and I said I wouldn't talk about the past 2 seasons previously, but I'm going to do it. When things weren't going well, there were a lot of people who, of course, fans are fickle and they automatically want the coach's head, right? It's always the coach's fault, regardless of the fact that we had X number of injuries, we had rough starts to the season, blah, blah, blah. I have been a Jimmy fan for a long time. I think he's savvy, very intelligent. I'm curious, from your vantage point, from your unique perspective, how has Jimmy grown into the NWSL? Because obviously there is some translation there from his coaching experience, but also just what good can you say about Jimmy as head coach? And I guess the rest of the coaching staff too, because I fully believe they deserve some applause and some praise with all of this success as well.
Yeah, we were having a conversation today with the coaching staff just about the way that the 3-game week had gone and things around that. And I think, we're talking a lot about looking back how we would have wanted to do it differently or whatever, because I think we really felt collectively as a group like there were 9 points for the taking, and like we could have gone out and done that. And we had to take a moment to say, like, we just got 7 points out of 9 in a 3-game week against a third opponent that hadn't played anybody midweek. Like, we were not as well rested as they were. And if you had told any of us last season in the first half of the season that we'd be getting 7 points out of 9, like, we would have taken that. Even going into this season, like, those are good results. And so I think it's just a testament to the group that, like, we do have this idea of how do we get better and how do we do that. But I do think we also need to, take time to look back and really be congratulatory about the work that's been done so far and the work that we are doing. Of like, we know that one half of the season could be completely different than the other half of the season. And so maybe that's what's feeding into this. How do we keep getting better? Because we know that this could all go away in the second half of the season, just as how it's come in the second half of other seasons for us. Like, we need to be able to maintain that. And so I think that that's exciting that we have a coaching staff that wants more, that wants to continue to aspire. But I think if anything, it's for us to be able to rein that in and say, but also look at the great work that we are doing. Like, let's take the time to be able to be really appreciative of the work that's gone in during preseason to be able to get here. And I think that we have really, we're continuing to grow together as a coaching staff to be able to find the ways that each person can kind of put their unique imprint onto, the group and into, use their skills to be able to do that. I think we talked about John being able to come in as a head of methodology, him being able to do that piece of it. I think James White has gotten a ton of credit this season for his set piece work. And obviously for us having, now it's 5 shutouts in a row, like that is the work that he's doing on set pieces with the goalkeepers, as well as obviously what the players are doing. But like, he deserves credit for that. And Emily Simpkins, who has been with us for a year and more now, is, like, I would just say one of the most loved staff members of anybody on the staff. Like, her playing experience, her ability to be able to resonate and connect with players is just superb. And then we have Sam Lismont and James Chandler, who are doing all of our analysis work. And like, if you look at the ways in which we've been prepared for the games that we've gone into, that's a huge credit to the work that both of them are doing, both from an analysis of opponents, as well as for our individual analysis, being able to help our players be able to get better. And then I think Jimmy, one of the things that he's grown into a ton is just being able to kind of see the bigger picture. When he first came in from Belgium, like, he had to manage everything. And so it was like he could get really granular on everything because they were more leanly staffed. He was doing different things. And so he had to manage so much of it. And I think now, one of the benefits of having larger staff is there are other people who can get granular on things. But I do think that's an adjustment to, like, distance yourself and be able to say, like, what is the direction that we're trying to go? How do we, navigate the ship to be able to make sure that we're taking in all the right information and being able to do that? So I think when you're talking about, like, from an adjustment perspective, I mean, you have to ask him. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I've been impressed by the way that he has been able to pivot and be able to, like, start to say, okay, my role is now not to go as in-depth on everything. There's still certainly things that he's getting really in-depth on and getting really granular, but how do I also just make sure that, like, the machine is running, and then making sure that, like, we're directing things in the right way? And that's an incredibly hard job, to be able to make sure that, like, everyone's granular work is building to the right kind of collective is really difficult. And I think that has been something that, if you're a micromanager, you feel like a need to take in all the granular stuff because you're so concerned about the big picture. You have to be there for every step of the way to make sure it gets there. And I think for him, having to take that step back and be able to say, I'm going to trust my people, I'm going to be able to do this. I think, we've talked a lot about, like, medical and performance and the work that they're doing. And he's just done a good job of being able to say, if this is the decision, if you make this call, like, I will take it and I'll run with that. And I'll work around the things that we've done here. And I think that can be hard sometimes for a head coach, because they have certain ideas in their mind of, like, what's going to lead to winning. And so we've just had conversations about, like, what is everyone doing that's leading to winning? And so if we feel confident that medical and performance are doing everything that they can to maximize winning, then when they give a recommendation, we can trust that, and we can, move that forward, and we can do that. And when operations are saying that this is the flight we have to take, or whatever it is, if they're really contributing to winning, then we can trust that that's the right decision and be able to do that. And I think that, Jimmy in his role just has to have that bird's eye view and be able to say, tactically, this is the approach that we want to be able to have with our personnel. This is the approach that we want to have with our subs and rotations and things like that. And I think that growth for him has been so critical, because we've hired good people. I think we feel good about the people that we've brought in, and he has really leaned into those people to be able to say, how do we, kind of as a collective move this forward. And I think that he should be hugely, hugely credited for that, as well as just like when you see the players on pitch, like they know what they need to do. And that might seem like a low bar, but I think it's an incredibly high one actually, of like the players are aligned in the way that they're going to play for each other. They're aligned in the way that they're playing. And like, as much as we talked about John being able to like do a lot of that methodology piece, like Jimmy also is one of the huge people conveying that. And like, I just think that there's so much clarity in what we're trying to do on the pitch. And that is really difficult to come by. I think if you watch some of our games last season, if you watch the NWSL at large, there are a lot of moments for a lot of teams where that is not the case. And I think that we have a lot of clarity. I think that our players play really self-assured, that they know what is being asked of them, and they're going to go out and try to execute that. And I think that, again, Jimmy should be credited for that. John should be credited for that, of like that kind of willingness to buy in and to be able to get that self-assuredness from the players of like, when I go, I go. When I don't, I don't. And like, I know what I'm being asked of when the ball's here, when I'm here, I know where I need to be and I know what I need to be doing.
I 100% agree with you on that. I think clarity is huge in any organization, right? It's one of the few times that I believe in trickle down, not economics, but where I believe that whatever is being communicated from the top down is so essential. I maybe want to end on this. We've kept you for a long time. You're so gracious with your time, by the way, and with all of your insights and understandings. But I am curious. So I'm not asking you to divine the rest of the season, but I do find it interesting that before the break, we have 9 more points on the table. And then as Maggie mentioned earlier, it's a longer second half of the season. This year we have 4 extra matches. So I think we have 18 matches after June starting in July. There's a lot of points on the table once we come back. I am curious though, how you personally, and maybe you've talked about this as an organization, as you take in data and things, but how do you weigh win percentage versus like points per game? Do you give one more weight over the other? Because, and maybe to clarify, when I say win percentage, I think that speaks more to how you can close out matches, whereas points per game maybe gives us a better indicator as to whether we're going to be a playoff team or make a run for the Shield or who knows what, right? So I'm just curious, do you weigh one more over the other? And as you project forward, is one more important to you?
I'm going to give a lawyer answer, which you're probably not going to like, but I think that for us, we have different, we have our analysts, we have data scientists that works with us. Like we have different things that we use, different metrics that we use to be able to gauge success and be able to, but holistically as an organization, we are about winning together through development. That's our statement. And we're going to go out every game and try to be able to win and compete. And I think in the way that we've gone out to start this season, like every game, I would hope as fans, and I would hope that you feel like we can go and get a result, because we feel that and our players feel that and our staff. And so as much as we have maybe aspirational things or things that we're looking at, like, yeah, we think we can win every game. So if that's a win percentage answer of like, we're going to go out and try to win every single game, like there are not games that we're circling on our calendar saying if we can get a draw here away at Washington or whatever, then we'll be happy with that. Like every game that we go into, we think, how do we win this game and how do we perform in a way that does that? And I think it's a shift, not in mentality of like, I think we always want to win, you always want, but just that you see on the pitch. I genuinely don't think that there is a team in this league that we would go into and be undermatched against. Now, we still have to perform. We still have to be able to be healthy. We still have to be able to get the tactics right. We still have to be able to do things, but we feel really confident about our odds against anyone in this league. And so we want to win. And so I think it may be short-sighted in some ways, but we also don't want to be outward about this is our points goal, because then that changes. Oh, we just need a draw here and a win here and a draw here, and then we'll get to our points goal. Like we have 9 points left for the rest of this half of the season, and we're going to go out and try to get all of them. And if we drop some at one point, then we'll go out and try to get 6 of them. And if we drop some, we'll go out and try to get 3 of them. Like we're focused game by game, and we also obviously have the bird's eye view, but I guess maybe the answer at a high level is win percentage, because we care about how we go out and perform. And I think, that doesn't mean that we expect that we will win every game in a broader context. Like we understand we're realistic, because in that same way, there are teams out there that look at every team in the league, including us, and think they can win it. But I don't think that we anticipate having games like we've maybe had in past years where it felt like we were going to hang on for a 0-0 result, and that would be a win for us. Like we feel like we want to go out and play the way that we can play. And so when we talk about winning through development, that doesn't always mean results. It can also just mean like that we play the way that we wanted to play, and what result comes of that comes of that. But we think that if we can play the way that we want to play and compete the way that we want to compete, like we'll get the byproduct of that will be the results that you all want to see, whether from game to game or beyond that. It really is like we just have to recognize, as ambitious as we are, even coming out and saying specific things about outcomes or things like that, like we have to recognize where we came from the last 2 years, and that we really need to steady the ship a little bit to be able to make sure that we can go out and aspire for what we want to aspire for. So where we're at is great. We're happy. We're not satisfied, because we think that we can continue to be able to go out and perform, but we also are realistic about how hard this season is and where it's going to go. And so it's in those moments, how do we continue to play the way that we want to play and continue to do the things that we want to do to be able to get winning, both capital W wins and lowercase w wins, of how do we, maintain the form that we have, the performance that we have, the players playing the way that they want to play. So I know that's not maybe the hard black and white answer that you might have wanted, but hopefully give some insight just into the mindset, I think, within the group. No,
that was beautiful. I wouldn't have asked for anything better. I think that's a perfect place to end it. And I think we wholeheartedly back you up and agree with you that this is a team that could scrap out a good result on any given night against any team. We fully support you in your role and the team and theirs, and we're going to show up and cheer as loud as we can. And I want to thank you again for your time. You've given us lots, and we know you have a young family and you have other duties and responsibilities. So thank you so much. And is there anything you want to say on the outro here as we say goodbye? Anything else you want to plug?
I would just say, like, you belong here, to everybody, that like as a member of our community being here in Utah, like we want our fans to feel like they belong here, that they belong, that by wanting to walk through the stadium gates, like they belong here. And I think that we've been so grateful for the fans that have come out and showed out for this first part of the season. And we want to be able to find ways to continue to grow that base and to find folks that maybe don't feel like they belong in other places, or maybe are just looking for, like, that this is a place where people can come to belong, that this is a place where people can come to feel a part of something. And our players are the type of people that both want other people to feel like they belong there and also that deserve to be supported. Like, it's just, I've raved about the group, I've raved about who they are, and I just want us to be able to support them. But I also want, the members of our community to know that our players support them, that they want to be members of this community, that we just want to be able to create a space of belonging, and that matters a lot. And so it matters for us within the building, but it also matters to us in the way that we're messaging to people outside of the building to come and be a part of this. And it's a really exciting time, but results aside, like, it is a place of belonging that we want people to be able to come and support and feel supported when they come to a game. So we appreciate the work that you all are doing to be able to get that out there, and hopefully we can just continue to invite more people in and help them kind of enjoy what's happening and what we have here.
I don't want to say anything else. I think we should just cut it off right there when we end it. That was beautiful.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you.
Again, just really appreciate the work you guys are doing. I know that it can be thankless at times. So, but when I look around the league at the teams that, like, the people that are investing and putting their time and effort into their teams, like, we feel really lucky that we have a group of people who are doing that as well. And so we're just grateful for that. And hopefully we can, keep building the base even more and be able to find, I just think it's a fun thing to be a part of. And I think it's still underrated in the state. And I think there are a lot of people that would really enjoy being a part of the Royals family. And so hopefully we can just keep getting it out there.
Again, I don't want to say a word. That was beautiful.
All right. Well, we'll see you in a year.
Yes, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. I have May 13th circled in 2027.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.